Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Michael, better known as Jedite83, and this is my Pagan vlog. Check out my website at wiccan.pw for my online Book of Shadows and information about the Temple of the Cybermage, my Wiccan temple. And today I want to discuss what is magic and what is witchcraft. And before we start, I want to answer a question that I have been asked. And why is it that in many of my videos, I'm dressed the same? And it's usually, if you watch my videos, at a minimum, I'm wearing this same green shirt. Sometimes I'm even wearing the jacket. If I'm not wearing the jacket, usually it's on the back of my chair. And there's actually a couple reasons for it. One, I like this shirt. It's comfortable. And I think it's, all the shirts that I own, the one that looks best on the camera. The jacket's around a lot because my house is always cold. Even in the summer in Florida, I tend to be cold because my wife likes the house colder than I do. So I do wear a jacket a bit. If I'm not wearing it, it's usually sitting on the back of my chair. Another big reason that I do seem to dress the same or look like I haven't shaved is because I film these videos back to back. Even though this is, at least as far as I'm planning, the only video I'm going to be posting this week, I'm filming this at the same time as the video last week. Literally, I finished that video like less than 5 minutes ago. I filmed 2 or 3 or more videos back to back, so I can do a bunch of research and then film a bunch of videos, research videos, and that's the schedule that works for me. I like being a little bit ahead on my videos whenever I can. So if I look like I'm just always wearing the same clothes, it's probably because I just filmed everything back to back. But excuse me. But my terrible taste in clothing aside, what is magic? What is witchcraft? The universe is made of energy. Everything's energy. I'm made out of energy. This microphone's made out of energy. This deck of tarot cards made out of energy. This random Lego astronaut I have on my desk is made out of energy. The energy is at a low enough vibrational state that they appear solid, but they are energy nonetheless. Science tells us this. Science can prove this. We even have ways to calculate the amount of energy, at least from the scientific point of view, that is in this. The Einstein's equation equals mc squared. The energy of an object is equal to its mass times the speed of light squared. We know this. The basis of how an atomic weapon works is based on this. But while science teaches us this concept is not new. The Vedic sages, thousands of years ago, taught this. It is this energy that permeates the universe that is the basis of magic. This energy has a different name. Most people in Wicca just simply call it energy. We just raise energy and we work with energy. I believe it's the Polynesians call it mana, a term that I like. In Star Wars, they called it the Force. It has many, many names, depending on the culture and the belief system and the practice. But at the end of the day, it's the same concept. This going into its nature is far more in depth than I think an introductory video like this is appropriate for. Maybe down the road I will do a more advanced one that goes further down this rabbit hole, but for the new Wiccan or the new practitioner of magic, energy is all you need to know. We work with energy. When there are a number of, anyone can learn to work with this energy, to raise it, to direct it, to shape it. Some people are naturally gifted at it. Some people, myself included, have to learn and practice, and it takes a bit more work. The raising and directing of energy, is witchcraft. Now, not everyone who works with energy and practices magic is doing witchcraft. Okay, so witchcraft is, and I may be speaking solely from my own view on the matter, It's an umbrella term for a number of different magical systems. I'm Wiccan, so a lot of how I do witchcraft is based on how Wiccans do witchcraft. You don't have to do it that way, but if you go to somebody who follows a Sotru, the Norse religion, and they practice witchcraft, they may do things a little differently because that's how it fits into their paradigm. Um, if you go to a group that's even outside of Wicca and all that, let's say the Golden Dawn or Thelema, they practice magic. They work with energy, just like witchcraft. However, most people I've met who are in GD or Thelema wouldn't call themselves witches, and they don't call it witchcraft, even though it's the same thing. They have simply opted to adopt other terminology for their practice, so that when they say, oh, I practice Thelema, you know not only that they do it, but the exact system that they are using. And there are different systems for practicing magic. Practicing magic and witchcraft, same thing, different word. Sorry. But generally, let's say I want to do magic. As I said, I'm Wiccan, so how I do it's based on that. People who do this will sometimes cast. Okay, let's start with the question: what does magic look like? When a witch or a practitioner wishes to perform witchcraft, what does it look like? And I'm going to speak from my experience because I don't know. Like I mentioned in my last video, everyone does things a little different based on their practice and how they just do things. But for me, if I'm doing something important, I will cast a circle. I will build an energy barrier in a circular shape and carve out a sacred space. I will then call the elements: earth, wind, fire, water, spirit. I will call them to lend their energy to my work, to bring the energy that is personified in those elements, or I should say that those elements are personification of, to my work. And they also help guard the edge of my sacred space. I will sometimes invite deity, the goddess and the god, into the sacred space to join in my rite. I will then raise energy. I will give this energy a purpose. What do I wish it to do? And then I will send it on its merry way to go out to the universe to go do its thing. After that point, I will say thank you to the goddess and the god. I will say thank you to the elements and invite them to stick around or go about their thing, and then I will take down the circle. That's a very basic one. I'm sorry. For me, it's a fairly ritualized one. But there can be some that are much more simpler. Let me show you. As you may have noticed in my last few videos, I have my altar here. On my altar is a green candle right here. The tin is just so it doesn't leak on my altar cloth, because this candle's a drippy one. Also gives me a place to tap my incense ash into. But a very simple spell, and this is what I do regularly. And it's really weird that I'm doing this without actually having a script in front of me. This is a green candle. Green is the color of prosperity. This is candle magic, okay? At least how I do it. I'll put this on my altar. I will. Let's see if I can do this backwards without hurting myself. I light the candle. As the flame burns, it is lending energy to it. I used a green candle, so it is lending a prosperity energy to it. Mother Goddess, spirits of the road and travel. May work today be busy. May the tips be generous. May I travel safely and promptly, and may no harm come to me or to anyone else. May I be a hard-working and courteous employee. As I will it, so mote it be. It's that simple. And that is a spell I do on a regular basis, or a variant of that. The wording was not exactly right. I'm a delivery driver. That's my day-to-day job. Is I am a delivery driver for a restaurant. So I pray for a busy workday. I pray for good tips. I pray for safety. I pray that I'm a good employee for my employer. The candle lends energy to my work. The green adds a little extra energy in the form of prosperity. Now, something I usually do is I usually use my athame to put out the candle instead of blowing it, but I didn't grab it. I also usually have it on my altar, not sitting in my hand, because holding a burning candle like that is silly, and I'm a little bit clumsy. But that is a very simple spell, and you saw how quick that was. And I've seen people do spells even faster than that, and even with less materials than that. And did I just hold on a second? Sorry, dropped something. Now, so that is spell work. That is magic. That is witchcraft. Now, I said I practice Wicca. I mentioned that in the last video a time or two. My last video was what is Wicca? And something that people do, and it's a practice I do not agree with, I do not subscribe to it, is they treat the word Wicca and they treat the word witchcraft as synonyms, right? So two words that mean the same thing. Pretty sure it's synonyms. As I mentioned, I'm not a linguist, and they are not. And I do not want to bash my tradition, the Crowley tradition I follow, but this is a place I disagree with our teachings. And as I said, everyone does things a little different. The general consensus in the pagan community is that Wicca and witchcraft are different. Wicca is a religion, a duotheistic religion honoring a goddess or goddesses and god or gods that was founded in the mid-1950s by a British gentleman by the name of Gerald Gardner. Witchcraft and magic are practices. It's a magical practice where you perform magic. You raise and direct energy. They're not the same thing. You can practice Wicca and not do witchcraft. You can practice witchcraft and not do Wicca. Example. When I got married, so 12 years ago, I was Wiccan. I have been since 2001, October 2001, so it's been 20 years. And I practice Wicca and witchcraft. My wife, on the other hand, practiced witchcraft, but she was not Wiccan. She followed a Satru. I have met people who practice witchcraft, but they are Christians or Catholics. Catholicism actually has a long history of folk magic. They wouldn't call it that because that's not something they believe in, but they do have a history of it. They've just slapped a different name on it. So, yes, do not use those terms interchangeably. When I'm on Facebook groups, people are like, hey, I want to learn Wicca. One of the first questions you've got to ask is, what do you mean? Do you want to learn the religion of Wicca, or do you want to learn how to do magic and cast spells? And part of this confusion is because there are people in the community who use these terms interchangeably. There is also Hollywood that just does whatever it is Hollywood does, and certainly throws confusion into all of this. But the general practice, as I mentioned, This is a place I disagree with with the Corellian tradition that I follow, because the Corellian tradition, um, let's be honest, in general, as far as the religion goes, it's an old family tradition dating back to the 1800s. So therefore, it's technically older than Wicca, so it can't have its basis in Wicca. It is a pagan religion. It was sometime in the 1990s that they adopted the name Wicca. They certainly do have over time, a lot of the teachings of Wicca have been brought into Corellianism, because a lot of people in it do come from Wiccan backgrounds. But their claim to being Wiccan isn't that they follow necessarily Wicca as was laid down by Gardner, or that evolved from Gardner, but because they practice magic, and they believe that Wicca and witchcraft are synonyms. If that works for you, that works for you. That's a place that I don't agree. I also am not exactly 100% of an expert on Corellianism, so I could be a little bit wrong, but based on the first degree teachings, that's what they teach. So yes, Wicca is a religion, witchcraft is a practice. Many Wiccans practice witchcraft, but not all. Some witches practice Wicca, but not all. There are people who practice Wicca and are atheists or non-theistic. And that's fine. All of that is fine, because these two systems are not linked. There seems to be a few exceptions, like, and I'm definitely not an expert on this, but excuse me, but like Thelema, which is a religion and a magical system. I have never seen anyone try to separate the magical system from the religion in Thelema. Those two do seem to be linked, but that is its own specialty thing, and the two were formed together. I am definitely not an expert on Thelema. I know very little. There is a YouTube channel, Darling, D-A''A'-T Darling, and she does speak on Thelema to people at a beginner's level. I love that channel, and I would strongly suggest that anyone check it out if you're interested in that. But I think at this moment that is pretty much the bulk of what I want to go over, at least for this beginner level intro to what is magic. Magic is, just to touch back on everything, raising energy, directing energy, and sending it out into the universe. It can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. Lighting a simple candle and a few words over it is just as powerful and just as valid as, let's say, a ceremonial magician with a giant altar and dozens of tools and long, elaborate ceremonies. All you're doing is raising energy, directing it, and sending it on its way. And all the accoutrements to it, the tools and the altars and the candles, are just tools to lend energy and to help me focus my will, my spirit, my intent. I have, and I've seen people do spell work with absolutely no tools. They just do it. Praying. We normally associate prayer with Christianity, most likely because a lot of us do come from a Christian background. Prayer is, in Wicca and in witchcraft, still a valid form of magic. And it can be as easy or as difficult and as simple or as complex as you make it and as you want it to be. And I know this is just supposed to be a 101 101 level intro to what is magic, and I know I've barely nicked the surface on a very complicated a topic. Um, it is something that there are books you can sit down with and just learn what is magic. 100% if that's your thing. But I know what has worked for me in the past is just learn what I need from now and then learn more later. Take good notes if you're practicing witchcraft, or if you're or I should say, if you're learning magic, or if you're learning witchcraft or Wicca. Note taking is a very important skill. Um, and what works for me is just learn a little, do it. Learn a little, do it. That is what has worked for me. That's just how I work. Um, yeah, I know I am barely scraping the surface of a very interesting, very complicated topic, but the intent of these intro lessons and me teaching people who are effectively working on their first degree and who are new to the craft and new to this path. I think that would be a rabbit hole that's a little deeper than we need to go into at this time. But I will definitely go more in depth in another video. Yeah, but if you do want to learn more, because I definitely do discuss it a little bit more in depth, and I am going to be writing some in the near future, a few more articles that are even more in depth. But you can check out my online book of shadows at wiccan.pw. It's free, it's ad free, it's 100% awesome. It's just not 100% complete because it is a work in progress, like a million other of my projects. If you have questions that you'd like me to specifically answer in an upcoming question and answer video, either leave them in the comments below or email me at webmaster@wiccan.pw. Until next time, I'm Dr. Michael, better known as Jedite83. This is my Pagan Vlog. I appreciate you joining me. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, may you blessed be.